Hey guys, what's up? I hope everyone's doing well. So if you haven't heard already, ChatGPT has released their new browser called Atlas. All right, stick around and we'll see how ChatGPT Atlas can help you explore the web with ChatGPT. Okay, first things first, you're going to need to log in with ChatGPT. So you can either do that with an email address, you can sign up for a new account, you can use one of the big three, or you can even continue with your phone. And depending on how you authenticate, it does want a little bit more information from you, which is kind of interesting because most browsers, I don't think they really demand this out the gate. And after I click continue, you can see that this is not optional. So if you proceed, you'll be brought to this point of the onboarding. For now, I'm just going to skip this. And at this point, it wants you to turn on browser memories. And what this is really about is how you control what it remembers about you, your data, and how it's used, and your privacy settings. And if you follow the how it works link, you'll get a little bit more context around this. All right, here we are in the browser interface, and they kind of give you 4 or so inline examples of how you can use this browser. Now, they really want you to set this to the default browser as they try to give you 7 days of extended limits on messaging, file upload, and data analysis. Now, before we get to that, I'm not going to make this my default browser at the moment. And for now, I'm just using the free account, but for pro and paid users, I'm going to show you something in just a minute. If you head over here and you hit settings, it actually tracks how long you've been on the browser. So I signed up 6 minutes ago and I've been on for 10 minutes. So here you can do some general customizations. You have classic tabs, you have scrolling tabs. You can change the accent color of the tabs right here. You can show the full URL of the address bar, bookmarks, and you can check for updates, which is automatically set to be on right here. You can set up 2FA or two-factor authentication right here. But where I want to get to right now is data controls. I'm going to click on this button over here. Now, if you were paying attention at the beginning of the video, this is where memories comes into play. So right now the model improvement is set for everyone. And what this means is whether the content you browse in ChatGPT Atlas can be used to train their models. So down here we have shared links. So shared links are view-only links that you create from ChatGPT so others can see specific content. Keep that in mind. You can archive your chats, delete chats here, and you can export the data. And down here you can share your logs to improve browsing. You can turn this off or keep this on. You can go back up to improve models for everyone, and you can click the setting and you can turn this off. You can include web browsing history. You can include your audio recording settings, and you can also include video recordings. So keep that in mind. That's available here. Let's head back out and we'll hit web browsing. And there are a list of other features and settings that you guys can explore at your convenience. So I like a little more granular control. So I'm going to hit personalization. And right down here under memories, this is where you can allow Atlas to reference your memories. You can turn this option off or on, and you can manage your memories here. So if you have any browser activity, they'll be listed here. And you can archive memories you don't want reference at a later point. So what it will try to do is use your memories to provide better responses and suggestions while you're using the browser. So you can opt in or opt out in these personalization settings. For now, I'm just going to keep them on to their default. Down here, you can browse those memories, and then you can archive those memories just as I showed you before with the data controls. It's kind of the same idea. And this seems to work on a per device basis, which is kind of interesting. So right here where it says summarize web pages on this device, I'm sure if you're using this browser on a mobile device or another device, you would have to adjust these settings for those devices. Let's quickly touch on agent mode. So if you have not used agent mode before, it's very similar, if not identical, to the agent mode used in ChatGPT. But in this context, you're going to provide in natural language how Atlas should navigate the web for you. So not only can you give the agent instructions on how it's going to navigate through clicking buttons or filling out forms or navigating through websites, but it will do the same as the agent over here in ChatGPT, and it will give you real-time supervision and intervene to clarify instructions for you, which is also handy. If this is something that you guys are interested, let me know and I will provide a video that maybe will give you more context around this. Okay, we're all done with this for now, and I know this is not something that everyone would just jump into when using their browser, but I just wanted you guys to know and be aware that these kinds of controls are available for you. Okay, let's browse the web. So it doesn't look like it, but right up here, this is where you're going to type in the URL. So let's go to one of my favorite URLs. And here we are at the channel, but right over here on the top right, you can ask ChatGPT inline in the browser something about this web page. So let's just do that. Let's go down to the bottom right here and we'll type in, what's this about? So what it's done here is it's analyzed the content that's on this page and it's given you some context around what this channel is about and some of the content that's available on here. And then what it tries to do down here is it tries to continue the conversation by asking you another question to help clarify how it can help you. Now, this can also lead to some interesting conversations and applications depending on what you're browsing. Let's go to laravel.com for a second. Now, keep in mind that this works just like any other browser. If I was to hit Control F, it'd bring up a find option, and I can look for something within the page, just like any other browser. So if I type in Forge, it'll look for that word on the page and highlight it, and then show me how many other occurrences there are on this page. And over here to the right, just as before, I can continue the conversation. I can say, what is Laravel Forge? And it gives me some very useful information outside of going to a Google search. I'm just touching the tip of the iceberg of how this can be very useful. I'm using it in the context of development and code, but you can imagine for other things. If you want to open up a new tab, just like any other browser, you can do Control T, or you can hit the plus icon, and that will do that, open up a new tab for you. And if you wanted to reopen a previous tab, you would just hit Command Shift and T, and that will bring us back to the tab that we initially opened in the beginning of the tutorial. And I'll head back over to the Laravel tab for a second. Okay, let's close our Find On page here, and we're going to ask it to do something interesting. We're going to head over to the sidebar, and we're going to say, take me to the Laravel documentation page. So not only can you be inside the browser, but you can use ChatGPT to navigate to other pages. And it also tells you what you can learn and how you can understand this framework. And depending on what you're looking for, it'll try to guide you through the most relevant parts of documentation. Now, for me, who likes to read documentation as bedtime stories, I find this stuff very useful because instead of like endless scrolling and looking, I can just ask it for something and I can narrow down to a specific topic that I'm looking for and get that information quickly, which I find is going to be very invaluable. So let's just proceed with what it's asking. So I'm going to say, how do I create a login page? And since it's browsed the documentation, it's going to give me a series of steps. I'm going to make this a little bit wider over here. It's going to give me a series of steps to actually go through and complete setting up a login page. Now it's giving me a set of instructions that it believes it's going to be the easiest process to do so. And just through reading through this at a glance, I'm going to look at this and say, maybe this is not the best approach to do this, but at least it gives you a set of instructions to maybe get started. Now, if we go over to the Laravel documentation and I click installation over here, and I skip down to starter kits, it's going to give me a set of different instructions here. So maybe GPT is not fully caught up, or the learning model is not in line with what's currently in the documentation, which is a possibility. So as far as setting this up, I would simply go and follow the instructions here, create my new app, follow these set of instructions, and I would have a starter kit. If you're using ChatGPT and the browser in collaboration, things become a little more interesting. So I'm going to start a new conversation with ChatGPT over here. I'm going to say, create a new login page. I'm going to say, we're going to use Tailwind CSS. And we're going to say, let's use Alpine.js. And since we're flying by the seat of our pants here, I'm going to say, can you display this in Atlas and see what it does? So after 19 seconds or so of thought, it's giving me the code that it deems would be what I'm looking for to represent my login page. Now, looking at this, I mean, it's not bad. And I don't want to get into the details of that, but this is one approach that would work. But as a seasoned developer, I would take another approach. But let's see what it gives us, okay? Let's go down to the bottom of the page here and see what it says. It says I built a clean, responsive login page using Tailwind and Alpine. Want any tweaks? And it's so smart. It's starting to look at some of the context, probably because of some of the things around my tutorial and my channel, or possibly what I've been using. And it's starting to say, do you want some Flux UI buttons, some Livewire? So it wants you to give it some direction on how to enhance what it's built so far. Now, I did ask it to open this up in Atlas directly, but maybe I'm not sure if there's some plumbing or something I have to do, but it didn't do it directly. But we're going to head up to this tab over here and we're going to hit this option. And what we'll do is just make this a little bit bigger so you can see this here. And we'll click preview. And it's going to preview in Canvas. Now, Canvas is something that's built into GPT anyway, and it allows you to see what the code that it generated looks like. I'm just going to make this just a little bit bigger. So not bad, considering I didn't give it a lot of context. And it's also implemented a dark mode for us here, and it's added some kind of stylization around this kind of Gaussian blur effect in the top right and the bottom left. Now, if we turn on dark mode, it does work, interestingly enough. And, it quite didn't get this right, but has a little bit of artifacting here, or just doesn't have the right image. But still, not bad at all. So I'm definitely going to get started with Atlas and start integrating into certain parts of my workflow for certain things where I feel it'll be useful. And I'm not going to go into all the nuances of all the other videos that are out there that have been created so far on shopping and different things and how to browse and permissions and filling out forms. I just wanted to give you guys a different path or different line of thinking when it comes to doing other things outside of just what it says in the documentation or what people have just seen out of the gate. Now, this video is getting a little bit longer than I would like, and I wanted to get into some of the nuances of what the differences would be if you had a paid feature or paid version versus the free version. So right now I'm using the free version of the Atlas browser, but I'm curious as to what your thoughts are on this browser as compared to the other browsers that are out there that do have some AI integration, but this one's built around ChatGPT. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys. And once again, thanks for watching. Take care of each other, and I'll see you guys in the next one.